Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call the Brawley City Council Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order this Tuesday, October the 21st at 6 p.m. And I just want to let everyone know that Mr. Nava had to be out of town today, and he called me early in the week to let me know that, so he won't be attending the meeting this evening. But can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Campbell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nava, Councilmember Wharton,
Present.
Councilmember Couchman,
Here.
Councilmember Noriega.
We'll have the invocation by Pastor Mike Newcheck for El Rentor Church and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Sam Couchman.
Lord and God, Savior and Creator of all, we ask that you look upon us in this city, in this chamber this evening, and as we stand before you, it's an acknowledgement that we are finite human beings that need a greater power like yours in our midst, in our decisions, in our daily living, in all the affairs that we confront. And tonight, Lord, we ask that you, through your Spirit, that you promise that you would send down to guide and lead us in our path, that you have direction of everything that will be said and done this evening, and everything that needs to be done for the betterment of the citizens of this city. For we ask and pray all this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Couchman, and Pastor, thank you so much for that invocation. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and which is the approval of the agenda. Before we do that, I would like to pull item 4C and schedule it for a future agenda item, and as it is the purchase of one backhoe piece of equipment for Public Works.
Then go ahead and make a motion to approve the agenda less item 4C.
There's a motion. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carries 4-0. The next item is public appearance and comments, and this is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda. The mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council, please. And if someone from the public like to come up, this is the time to do so.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Mark Gran. I'm with Strictly Business Consulting, and I'm now representing Allied Waste Republic Services in the Valley. And so tonight it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the new division manager of Allied Waste Republic Services, Mike Howell. Mike?
Evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, City Manager. My name is Mike Howell. I've been in the municipal waste and recycling business for over 30 years. I've had the pleasure of working with many cities, the city managers, their staff, and on lots of special projects with the City Council. I actually have an apartment here in Brawley now, and I'm looking forward to working with the city manager and staff, and we have the upcoming events. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
We welcome you to the city, and you've got some pretty rough company there, though, that you're hanging out with. So. But I'm just joking. I know Mark personally. He's a really good friend of mine, and you come to the city at the right time. It's cattle call time, so you'll have some fun. We welcome you here, and our staff, and we look forward to working with you guys. And is there any questions or comments?
I was just wondering, did Mark get you a hat?
No, but I was going to ask him where a good hat was.
You'll need one. It's coming. 2 or 3 weeks.
Just wait about a week and they're at every corner.
Yeah, you'll find one.
Welcome to
Yeah,
Brawley.
Cool.
I want to thank you, Mr. Howell, for the opportunity to meet. Several of our departments have been in contact as this is our busiest time of year. And Mr. Howell's taken the seriousness of how we take cattle call to heart, and we look forward to you having a successful run.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Mark, thank you very much for introducing the gentleman, and we look forward to working with, continuing our work with Allied, our Republic. All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public like to come up?
Good evening, City Council members. It's good to see you. I think this is a very nice town. I like the people here. However, when I go by Malon and 86 and see that horrible-looking trailer court, I get very depressed. And I was wondering if that had ever been an issue here. I'm sure it has. And if possibly the owner needs maybe a loan from the city to replace that horrible-looking fence. I mean, there's some beautiful apartments across the street, and I think I wouldn't move there just because of that view. But if something can be done, especially now when all the snowbirds are coming in, it would be very, very nice. At least if you would take that rag off. It's very depressing. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your concern, and we will pass it on. And not passing the buck, but the trailer parks is kind of overseen by the county supervisors, and we've been in conversation with some of these issues, and we'll continue to do that. But thank you so much for your concern. Anyone else from the public like to come up? Jay, you walked in just in time. Jay, you timed that just right. Huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're done.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, and staff. Jason Zara, Brawley Chamber of Commerce. And I'm sure I had something to say about cattle call while I'm here. So I apologize, I didn't get here in time to gather my thoughts. But what I did want to share is just a couple of updates on some things that are going to be new this year. The chili cook-off, we're going to be adding a mechanical bull to bring a little bit of extra excitement to the event. We're also going to have some live performances out at the event. That's going to be on the 1st. On the 2nd, the Dia de la Familia is really coming together. We're going to have a lot of, the whole Boys and Girls Club is going to be dedicated to family events. We're going to have face painting. We're going to be making turkey masks. We're going to be doing loteria, the altars for the Dia de los Muertos. There will be several other kids' activities. There's going to be a photo section. So there's a lot of nice events coming together for that day. It's going to be a really good day to bring the family out and spend it together as a group. And that's the highlights of the first weekend, and I will leave it there at that for the moment. Thank you very much for your time.
Jay, thank you very much. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council staff. I'd like to introduce you, actually, Councilmember Wharton. Everyone else has had the opportunity to meet our newest officer this morning. I had the privilege of swearing in a new officer, Officer Jeremy Schaefer, is Brawley's newest police officer. As stated this morning, Jeremy is born and raised here in Imperial Valley. I graduated here in Brawley in 2005. His family has a business here in Brawley, and this is kind of the tip of the iceberg, if you may. The Imperial Valley College has a reserve program. Jeremy found his way to invest time into himself, and it takes a year to go through level 3 and level 2. Even when you make that type of commitment, it doesn't get you prepared for the actual post-basic certificate. To do so, you have to have another 12 weeks of training. Actually, this morning I believe it was 10, but it was 12. And there's only 2 places in California in which he could do that. The closest was Fresno. Officer Schaefer put himself through the academy. He is the father of 2 young boys who go to school here. And so it was very trying, but very successful. And it brings great pleasure for me to introduce to you our newest officer, Jeremy Schaefer. This is the council. These are the people you work for.
And again, as I told Jeremy this morning, it's really good. You know, that phrase that they use is to serve and protect, and that means a lot. And when you serve and protect at home, it really means a lot. You know, so this is where Jeremy grew up at, and we welcome you to the force. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a good officer for the city of Brawley.
And I congratulate you also. Watching Jeremy grow up, I am so proud to see him accomplish, really on his own. He's always had the fortitude to do things on his own. And he was a little spirited young man, which I can assure you his boys will pay him back. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'm going to sneak this in. I apologize for missing this morning, but again, we're fortunate if we find somebody local, and when we say local, from the Valley, and I know the chief has made a concerted effort to look for that talent. We're really blessed if we get that, but on top of that, getting somebody from the community from here in Brawley, I think it's fantastic. What better watchdog can you have than to have one of our own? So congratulations, and really look forward to having you out there and part of our staff. So.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to being here.
Super.
For the city of Brawley.
Very good. Very good. I congratulated you this morning. You have a lovely family, and everything went really well this morning, and we look forward to you working with here in the city of Brawley on the police department. And so we expect great things from you.
He'll deliver.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jasmine, we have another new employee that Jasmine is going to introduce.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. Yasmin Arellano, Public Works Director. I have a great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Rodolfo Núñez. He's the chief at the water treatment plant. Mr. Rodolfo Núñez is from he is from Calexico. He graduated from Calexico class of 1996. He attended IVC. He has an AS in water treatment technology, and he's also certified as a grade 4 distribution operator and a grade 4 treatment water treatment operator. Mr. Núñez started with City of Calexico when he was in high school, doing airport maintenance. He was with City of Calexico for 12 years, and he moved up the ranks in different departments. He started with the airport, then he went to Parks and Recreation, then he became a meter reader, then he became the lead person of the meter reading division, and then he went to the distribution division, and then to the water treatment plant. After 12 years there, he went to City of El Centro, where he spent his last 7 years. And he was a grade 4 shift operator and the safety coordinator for the water treatment plant. I introduce to you Rodolfo Núñez.
Good afternoon, City Council, ladies and gentlemen, residents of City of Brawley. I would like to take this time to thank you for this great opportunity to serve the city of Brawley. I know that one of the most valuable assets for the cities is water, and I want to let you know that I would like to take proactive measures to safeguard the integrity of this valuable liquid. My goals are to provide safe and reliable drinking water to the residents of Brawley, to comply with local, state, and federal laws. City of Brawley, I promise you this tonight. I will put my very best to make the City of Brawley water plant the best one in the Imperial Valley. Once again, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Rodolfo Núñez. I am proud to be of public service for the City of Brawley.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez, and we welcome you aboard. And
Yes.
And again, as council members, we're here to support you guys and staff. So.
We can call Rodolfo Rudy. He likes to be called Rudy.
Rudy, okay. Rudy, all right.
Congratulations and welcome to Brawley.
Thank you, Rudy, and your resume is impressive, and I know that was probably just part of it with all that experience, but maybe we can get that speech that you just gave, if we can put that up as a plaque or something. I think it says it all, in terms of what needs to be
Very
done, but
nice,
welcome aboard.
Very nice.
Thank you very much, Rudy. Yeah, we appreciate it, and we want you to do well with us.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, before I move on to the next item, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to come up before we move on?
Jason.
Sure, come on up, Jason.
My apologies, and thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to mention that the bleacher tickets for the parade are available now at the chamber.
Oh, okay.
And I know everybody's looking forward to that. So
And they're how much?
they're $5 a piece. We have the 6 sections of bleachers, separate tickets available. This year's theme is red, white, and blue, and we're up over 100 entries for the parade already, so it should be a good one.
I got to turn mine in still.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah,
Okay.
haven't done it yet.
Anyone else from the public like to come up?
Artist.
Oh,
The young lady.
Where is
She's
right
She's,
Oh,
she's way in the back, but then we just took a picture.
from the Mrs. Miramontes? Where you at? There she is. She's hiding back there.
Miss Miramontes.
From Mr. Flores' economic class, civics economic class. The portrait that's hanging on the wall out there, I didn't realize it, but when that portrait was purchased from the Pioneers Memorial Hospital Gallery, we didn't know. And I met with the class the other day, and we talked, and I offered them the opportunity to ask a bunch of questions about city government and some of the things that we do. And when she walked out of the door, I seen her face was lit up. I'm like, what happened? She's doing, that's my portrait. It's her picture. We never knew that, but it's a very, very nice portrait, and it was donated to the city. But I welcome you here this evening, and is that your dad that's with you? Yes, your grandpa? Okay, and we welcome him also. And I have to say, I really enjoy meeting with the class and with your teacher, Mr. Flores. They do a really, really good job with that class, and I think we've got some more meetings scheduled even for next week. So we'll look forward to meeting with you guys again, and as always, welcome to our meetings. So.
Very good.
Okay. If no one else from the public want to come up, and then I'm going to move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. And the consent agenda items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request items to be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, which is regular business, and that's item 4A. Review and potential action regarding City of Brawley response to the Affordable Care Act affordability requirement as it pertains to the city's health insurance allowance.
This is a paper copy.
Can't seem to find it. Yeah, we're fine.
You okay?
Yes.
Very good, sir. Good evening, council members, mayor, Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management Administrator. I am joined by my partner in the Affordable Care Act, Rosa Ramirez. She is the Assistant Finance Director for our wonderful city. This is part 2 of a 2-part presentation on the Affordable Care Act. So tonight's action, we are reviewing avenues to meet the affordability portion of the act, and we ask the council to consider staff's recommendation to increase the City of Brawley health insurance allowance to meet the Affordable Care Act's affordability threshold, and this would be effective January 1st, 2015. A couple definitions we want to keep in mind thinking about affordability. Full-time employees are those averaging 30 hours or more. And last time we defined the measurement period of being October 1st to September 30th. Tonight, we're going to look at the definition of affordability. And affordability is the employee's contribution towards the medical, just the medical insurance premium for the lowest cost product that the city offers to the employee that cannot exceed 9.5% of the gross wages. I know this is kind of small for the people in the back, but I wanted to give an example of how this is calculated. So our lowest paid employee working an average of 30 hours or more per week, that employee, the lowest paid employee doing that currently is making $11.14 per hour. That translates to $23,171.20 per year. Multiply that by that 9.5% factor. So out-of-pocket cost for that employee cannot exceed $2,201.76 in any calendar year. So what does it look like with the 2015 premiums? Blue Shield net value is currently the lowest cost product available in 2015 to people who reside in the Imperial County. That cost is $561.09 per month. The city's current health allowance is $273.84 for a single employee-only single person. So the employee out of pocket, just subtract that from the 561, is $287.25 per month. That translates to an annual cost of $3,447. That's why we're not affordable. That exceeds the out-of-pocket maximum of $2,201.76. The recommendation going forward is the increase in the health insurance allowance. This is what that looks like. So take the $561.09, which is our lowest premium, increase the allowance by $103.77, gets you $377.61. Off of that $561 gives you a net out-of-pocket $183.48. Multiplied times 12, and our annual out-of-pocket is right at that 9.5%. So the affordability recommendation is to increase the monthly health insurance allowance by $103.77 for the following groups: Brawley Firefighters Association, Brawley Public Safety Employees Association, Brawley Police Sergeants Association, Management, Confidential, and Unrepresented Employees. Again, the effective date is the same date the new premiums are effective, that'd be January 1st, 2015. And the fiscal year 14-15, that would be the 6 months remaining, January through June 30th, 2015, estimated cost, this is without indirect employer cost, $71,601. This is an unbudgeted number because the rates were not available to us during the budget process. If you notice, there was one bargaining unit not mentioned, and that was Teamsters. Back in 2013, the Teamsters negotiated during their MOU negotiations a $200 increase per month in the health insurance allowance. This makes them affordable. But part of the tentative agreement in item number 6, it states that if we increase any of the other bargaining units' health insurance allowance, it invokes a 5% base salary increase across the board for all Teamster members. And of course, the state would coincide with all the other increases. January 1st, 2015. This is an unbudgeted item. And our fiscal year 14-15 costs, and again, that's the last 6 months, January 1st to June 30th, 2015, would be $43,740. And that is all the indirect employer costs are included in that $43,740. And a majority of those funds would not come from the general fund. They would come from enterprise fund. Not all, but a majority. So what other alternatives does the city have to be affordable? There is an avenue we could go down. It's called increase the hourly rate to impacted employees. Impacted employees are anyone who makes less than $17.44 per hour. That figure was derived by taking the $3,447, remember from the previous slide? That would be the out-of-pocket, and increasing the wages so that can decrease or meet to the $3,447. And that calculation is included in your backup. This would affect our temporary employees who are working 30 hours or more on average per week, would affect our part-time employees working an average of 30 hours or more per week, and our full-time regulars as well. We have employees in the full-time realm who's receiving benefits but not making $17.44 per hour. For instance, I was just looking at the wage scales of a clerk and her supervisor. If we increase the wages to $17.44 per hour and make 1 cent difference between what her supervisor makes to what this clerk would make with the increase of $17.44. It also skews all the salary schedules currently being used. It also is a higher cost to the city to do this. The previous two, if you look at the Teamsters of $43,000 and the increase in the allowance, it was $71,000. That's roughly $115,000. This, again, this no indirect costs included in the 123. It costs more to do this plan than the other, than the allowance. And there's always the non-compliance. Let's not do anything. Let's be unaffordable. And what impact would that be to the city? Well, for every employee who goes to the website, Covered California, and receives of subsidized health coverage through them, the city will pay $1,000 per month per employee that goes to the plan. Now, that could be nobody, or that could be everybody. It's unknown at this point in time how many people would go that route to get coverage. So the estimated cost is unknown at this time. So if the Brawley City Council approves our recommendation to increase the health insurance allowance by $103.77, what's next? Budget adjustments will need to be prepared and brought to the council for approval, and these budget adjustments will be fully with the dollar figure, which would include the employer indirect cost, and those would come to you November 18th, 2014 for your approval. And then staff, as we do with the measurement period, will have to reevaluate the affordability component of the Affordable Care Act each time we receive a CalPERS medical premium notification. I do not predict that premium cost will go down in the near future. I think I pretty much am on the majority on that. I think everybody thinks that same way. So this will be an exercise every June and July because that's when CalPERS releases its medical premium cost. Open for any suggestions, direction, questions?
Well, Mrs. Benitez, I really appreciate the information and the work that you guys have put together. And I'll say this right now. Our employees are very important to this city. Their health is very important to this city. And we need to do what it takes to make sure that they have the coverage that they need to take care of themselves and their families. So.
Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments. It looks like it's going to cost us $115,000 for this year, the last 6 months, right?
That's correct.
So that looks like $230,000 for the next year. If all things remain the same, it'll be around that amount.
That's correct.
So in each year increase, that was what we would see, about $250,000 for the
Just the
for the cost
affordability
per the
component.
year, just for the affordability component. It appears that we don't have a whole lot of choice, though. in terms of how we handle this, because it doesn't appear that there's any kind of way. I mean, it's kind of an unfunded mandate that comes in from the federal government, and we have to kind of deal with it at the city level. But it also means that we have to spend over $200,000 additional each year as we move along through this process. And probably in the near future, it will go to $300,000, which, you know, we probably expect that, because I don't think it's ever going to go down. It's probably just going to move up in incremental terms on up. So I don't know that we have a whole lot of choice in this, and I do realize that the health insurance is important, and, you know, I want to keep the employees healthy, and we want to make sure that we're fair to everyone and that we comply with the law. So we have to do some of these things that we may not necessarily feel real comfortable in doing, only because we're looking at condensed budget. As you know, this year we had some loss of some revenue, and so and then we have the utility tax and all these things that go along with that. But then we're having to pay out another $250,000 that we didn't have to pay before. So that's the only issue that I have with this. Otherwise, I think we have to do it, and so we have to move forward with it. I just want the public to be aware of all those kind of things that we have to struggle a little bit with.
Just to give you full information, come June, when the rates do come through to CalPERS, at that time, we have a 60-day window to decline coverage for 2016 and go look for coverage elsewhere if we think we could find something.
Lower in cost.
Lower in cost. That would save the city money. We would already be past the budget process. But past efforts in this realm have not yielded that result.
And usually it isn't any lower.
No, sir.
Usually it's higher.
Yes, sir.
No, I feel we have to do this. Healthcare costs was already increased for the employees through the budget process
Yes.
already.
Yes.
So this is going to be like a double whammy if we don't help them here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're already paying more for their health care coverage, and so we've got to pay more on our side too, I suppose.
Okay. Donnie?
Yeah, and again, I want to echo the thank you for the work done on this. I think all of us, it was laid out in a fashion that you took up, again, a complex issue, and certainly helped understand it, and actually earlier met with the city manager to try to get a little bit more daylight on it. I do understand what the mayor is saying about, you know, we as an employer, as a city, need to do what we can as a benefit package to provide this. Now it's a mandate. What I'm just troubled with, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it, is just the whole notion of affordability, when at the end of the day, these are taxpayer dollars. So when we're talking about looking for an additional $230,000 minimum, that's the best alternative that we're being presented. It's just vexing for me. I mean, it puts us in a position where at the end of the day, it could cost jobs. It could cause us to impact service delivery to the city, to the citizens. Not saying at this moment, I'm prepared to comment on that part of it, but those are my concerns. At the end of the day, as far as affordability, I have one question I want to find out. How many of our employees, it was mentioned up there about going and shopping for a subsidized plan if they went on their own, and there's consequences and fines for that. Mm-hmm. How many employees, and you said you were able to quantify how many employees we would have that would go to that market. First off, why is that difficult to ascertain when we know how many employees we currently cover under our current plan, how many employees do not qualify under our current conditions for a health plan? I think the first question is, how many employees do we have that are impacted that do not currently have health coverage out of our 147?
I'll answer that twofold.
Okay.
Of the 147 budgeted employees, a resolution was passed by this council back in 2008 that they have to have health care coverage somewhere to opt out of the plan. Right. So even if they're not taking City or Brawley through CalPERS health plans, they have health plans somewhere. They show proof of coverage, and so they have health plans somewhere. The reason why we are unable to ascertain what our fines would be is because we have not received any reports from Covered California saying, your employee's tapped into the system and is receiving a subsidy. That's the way the fines are going to be driven, is once they tap into that plan and they know there are employees, then they are going to ask us if we're affordable. If we can prove we're affordable, then we won't get fined.
Not to cut you off, but
Yes,
okay,
sir.
understanding that, I want to add, so can we do a survey, or is there a way that we can quantify that? I mean, being that we know what our employee or staffing pool looks like, I know that's not going to happen overnight, but is there a way that we can figure that out?
I could look into it. I'll be more than happy to. I know Covered California, you could actually go on the website, $94,000 annual income or less, and receive quotes. And this, I don't know what I'll research is how's the subsidies determined? At what income level? Is there a chart somewhere on the website I can look at? And I'll be more than happy to report that back out.
Excellent. One last question is, how many employees do we have that are not even, that fall under our definition that we created for full-time employee? You started the presentation off with that. It's a fairly small number, right, of our workers or our employees that actually under this definition are considered full-time.
About 12 is what
Is it 12?
city
Okay.
manager reported out during the last presentation. That number is being monitored. Currently, October's not done yet, so we are monitoring it by a monthly basis, and that's what Rosa does. And then she'll report out to me how many people are falling into that realm of being full-time.
Okay, I'm
Councilmember Wharton, just so
yeah.
I'm sure I understand your question, though. You're inquiring how many people currently meet the criteria for an average of 30 hours or more? Or are you asking how many are there that don't meet the criteria?
I asked how many do now meet under this definition.
Okay. So we were roughly at 12 as we evaluate, and just to jog memories, we're looking at locations such as how we've staffed at Parks and Rec, looking at not reducing service levels to accomplish that. We've done the same. We've got 2 positions at PD. One's kind of a hybrid maintenance person that floats full-time amongst a number of locations. We've got a graffiti abatement worker that's full-time. We have a number of our reserve officers that are doing regular shift work that are most certainly qualified because of that. And we basically went through department by department to decipher which are the ones that we have clear mandates to continue staffing at that level because of a desire not to trade out the service level, and then which are the ones that by happenstance, and some examples that come to mind are, for instance, in our library, we had some very unusual events that occurred over the last year. There were some folks that crossed over into a higher than average number of hours because of the unusual circumstances. We hope to not encounter those issues again, and as we do confront those types of topics, we'll be looking at the option to bring in an extra body at lesser hours to not risk kind of crossing the tipping point.
I think that'll be important. My point to these questions are just simply, I think tonight we're moving forward with a vote and a vote presenting the best option that we have, that we're looking at right now. That best option is really taking an unbudgeted amount, a fairly significant amount that we've got to move forward in the future here and figure out how we're going to pay for that. But I want the public to understand that it's not just covering a handful of employees, of 12 employees. There's really a domino effect, and including some of our collective bargaining agreements. So there's some other trigger points, and which again, commending the good work that was done to even arrive at that amount. And my other question, that's an estimate, correct? I mean, it's not obviously not a to the penny. It could be more, it could be less.
It's most likely going to be more because the indirect employer cost on the health insurance allowance, no matter, let's see, Rosa, what's the best way to say this? Why don't you respond?
The portion of the increase on the allowance does not include the indirect employer cost, which would be the Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, which is roughly 8 to 10% maybe.
Right.
So that part is not included on the amount that we talked about with the Teamsters 5% increase. That is fully allocating the indirect cost.
Yeah. Okay. Rosa, thank you.
And I just have to say, going back to the workforce myself and becoming HR director, I know it takes a lot of time and effort and working together. I'm glad you've got someone else to help you out. It's unfortunate that we have to face these these times now, especially when you use the word affordable. It's a little ridiculous when we use that word, but unfortunately, my main concern is, yes, going on in the future, that the amount of money it's going to cost us, and where are we going to get the funds? But thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to let the council know that I have had an opportunity to meet with each of our bargaining units to describe to them the research that went in to preparing the staff report, and we have many of them here this evening. My intent in doing that was to kind of help to jumpstart, because some of the Affordable Care Act discussions are so difficult to follow when you kind of dive in. So I'm not sure if any of them may have any comments they wish to offer.
Any other comments from council before we? Okay. We need a motion for the item.
I'll make a motion to approve the increase in the City of Brawley health insurance allowance to meet the ACA affordability threshold.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 4A, which calculates to $103.77 per employee
For the remainder of the
for the
fiscal
remainder of the fiscal year. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 4B. Review and potential action regarding approval of housing owner occupied rehabilitation program, loan number H7664-444, funded by the home program in the amount not to exceed $72,160.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. We ask for your consideration on a loan from a funded grant to rehabilitate a single-family dwelling. The loan is in the neighborhood of $72,000, and it will come from a home grant that the city is in possession of. The city will be in second position on this loan. However, the remaining amount to be paid on the first position is $2,400 or thereabouts. The annual income of the person that is applying for the loan is in the neighborhood of about $50,000. We ask for your consideration to approve this loan.
Yeah, I think we vetted this item pretty well before, so I'll make the motion to approve of this loan.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, no one opposed. We're going to move on to the... Thank you, Mr. Soto. We're going to move on to the next item, which is 4D, because previously we pulled 4C to schedule it for another meeting. 4D is review and potential action of authorization of required payment of the LTA 2012 bond series for the City of Brawley in the amount of $78,328, and approval of the City Council Resolution number 2014. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, amending the fiscal year budget 2014-15 in the amount of $78,328.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Ruby Walla, Finance Director. The item this evening that we're requesting approval for is the approval of a bond payment for September, and principal and interest payment. We were contacted, city manager was contacted by ICTC regarding that the cities or the distribution to the county for Measure D. We did not get the enough allocation for distribution, and we are not going to be able to meet our payment for our bond obligation. If you recall, now going into year 3, we went out with we took out bonds for these streets projects that have been going on, and how that was set up is that our allocation through BOE is that the monthly allocations that we receive, the payment is split up monthly to take off the top what our debt service obligation will be. The city doesn't directly make a debt service payment, it's taken off the top of our monthly allocations. In this case, we were notified that we did not receive the full amount that would fulfill the payment for September. So in ICT and their notification and their review with bond counsel, the result was that the estimates projected for our sales tax generation for Measure D were inflated due to solar projects, because the way the BOE gives their estimates is they go 1 year back, so 1 year looking back, and that's when the solar projects, it was impacted by those numbers. So there was an adjustment that was carried out, which caused us not to meet our payment for September. So it was requested that the cities affected, which are in the packets as well, and their distribution to meet their monthly obligation, is that we pay that out of our existing cash balances and remit payment. So they would transmit to Bank of New York Mellon to meet our debt service obligation. Again, this is not so much, it's the pool that we're, just our monthly obligation that we're paying, that what would have been cut off, taken from the top of our allocation. So this is just making us whole for the month of September. And the total amount requested from the city of Brawley is $78,000. And it's broken down in the packet as what is principal and what is interest. And that is being requested as of October 31st. And that's what we're requesting this evening to get authorization, which is included is the budget adjustment, because this debt service payment was not requested in the budget, as it was an item that we don't directly purchase out, dispersed debt service payments.
Ruby, the only question I have is, these payments from all the cities that in the county that's listed in the packet, all that's due at the same time?
Correct.
Okay.
I guess, question, are we going to experience this again?
That was not, it's based on the allocations and how they're being received. I can't say it will not, because if it's based on estimates, based on 1 year looking back, and if it's the same process, then we might be faced with the same situation.
And how long would that continue, do you think? For at least a year, or?
That would have to be reviewed thoroughly with on the estimates, and I guess going back to with ICTC and the bond counsel and the assumptions.
On page 84 of our agenda packet, there is reference from ICTC to the city of Brawley, indicating that these future fluctuations are now a subject of discussions between bond counsel and the underwriting team, and there's dialogue underway with the Board of Equalizations as to whether or not we can even out the flow. What's interesting about this experience is, my first impression when contacted by ICTC was a lot of concern for how are we going to cover it, considering it wasn't accounted for. Right. When we went back and looked at the receipts for the LTA that directly flowed to us, they were still very much in excess of our estimates. So what we're doing is taking funds from last year's closeout, which we didn't program all of them into our current budget year. They're ending balances that are estimated far beyond what was anticipated. Our intent is to work with ICTC to figure out how to regulate the payment amounts, and we may be coming back to you with some type of manual adjustment that will be necessary to even out our payments. But more information to come. It's a discussion that's very actively underway among the commission members of ICTC, and my understanding is a very swift contact was made with the Board of Equalization regarding the assumptions, because it's the one-time peaks that we experienced are not probably the best assumptions.
They're not constant. Right. That was my question, if they kind of spread out the payments, but if they all do it at the same time.
Well, my concern was only that we would have to continue this, and this isn't budgeted, and so naturally it has primary, it's a great concern, I think, to myself, I'm sure, to the other council members.
It's not budgeted because we did not question the assumptions.
Right.
In the moving forward years, we have the ability to look realistically at what those levels are. So I don't think we'll have the same situation from the point of view of a budgeting process in the next year, because we'll likely be assuming some portion of the carryover for payments. It's just, this was not built into the model for payments.
Okay.
And actually, going back to the model, it was set up that way, so it wasn't actually incrementally taken within 12 months. It was 1/10 payments, so it should keep us whole to fluctuate for situations like this, but this case, it was just overly stated.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for council? Okay. Do we have a motion for item 4D?
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
There's a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, 4E. Review and potential authorization of contract change order number 1 to contract number 2013-09A. Re-advertisement of street rehabilitation phase 9 in the amount of $125,236 to Rubberite Aggregate Products Incorporated, and authorize the city manager execute all documentation in relation to this project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. Yasmina Arellano, Public Works Director. The original contract amount for this contract for the re-advertisement of Streets Phase 9 was $2,324,981.19. This project had some quantity overruns. The main ones being, we have a list provided in the staff report, and I'll list them for the benefit of the people who do not have this staff report, which is, we had additional 1-inch cold mill, additional asphalt, which is conventional asphalt, additional rubberized asphalt, additional adjustments to sewer manholes, water valves, monument wells, cul-de-sac treatments, and I mentioned cold mill already. The main overruns were in the 3 first ones, which is the cold mill, the conventional asphalt, and the rubberized asphalt, and the rest kind of like just fall as basically as a consequence of these 3, because once you adjust these elevations, then you have to consequently adjust all the utility valves. After the initial grind, I want to mention that this project covered a large area, I mean, being the $2.3 million. It was a Parkside area.
32 streets.
Pardon me?
32 streets.
Correct. It was mainly the Parkside area, the Ridge Park area, that we encountered some late project conditions there. North Imperial from Plaza to the northern city limits. The engineering department evaluated alternatives to prevent future change orders on paving projects. Section 3 of the standard specifications for public works construction, which is commonly known as the Green Book, allows for changes in work. And there's a percentage, and that if anybody has questions, we can go over that. But specifically, this is set up for asphalt projects because they tend to vary to be able to adjust during the construction, the quantities up and down. Obviously, we don't want to exceed these quantities to where we go out of that scope of work. But it has some baseline percentages. But even though this contract change order is 5.3% of the total contract price, there are ways to eliminate future change orders that we brainstorm as a team, such as including potential items of work that could come up during construction, instead of minimizing, because that's just when sometimes as a designer you try to minimize the scope so that you end up with a not so expensive project. So we can include additional potential items of work. We can also change the bid unit quantities from volume, which was in this contract, to area, which it will drive the price up, but then it will involve less calculations by the engineering department at the time of evaluation of invoices. Also, try to manage a project at a time. In this case, we ended up managing 3 projects and investing more time in project analysis and project design. The project completion date for this project was July 11th of 2014. It took approximately 60 days to gather all the asphalt weight tickets from the contractor because of the 3 projects going on at the same time. They have to be separated and organized per project. The inspector tried to balance the quantities at first and then required assistance from the rest of the engineering team due to the size of these projects. As I mentioned, the 3 projects total about $4 million in the 3 combined from different funding sources. And the sum of change orders on these 3 projects, and I know we're only talking about the Phase 9, but just to give you just an overall view from what we were analyzing, $200,000 in change orders for the $4 million of work. So we ended up with an average of 5% on change orders on these projects. And the norm of engineering, it was a good project. It is an excessive change order because it's a 6-figure change order, but I want to let you know and I want to assure you that we're doing our best and we're trying our best in these paving projects so that this doesn't happen again.
I can respect that. I think the project was needed. There was a lot of streets involved, and I think A Street was part of this, I believe, and that was a huge project. And I think what happens too is we ran into some weather issues when this project was going on too. So, and I like the fact that we're continuing to do streets, and we still have a lot of streets that need to be done. So I just ask that you guys keep your foot on the pedal and let's get the rest of them done.
Yeah, especially Palm Avenue.
Yeah, Palm Avenue.
I have to put that in every time,
Palm
sorry.
Avenue is an issue.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, my concern, though, is that we go out for a contract and we go out for a bid, and if it's 5%, if we have a large change order and say it is 5% or whatever, say it's 6 figures, it's $125,235. In some cases, we got to be careful, I think, because as you ask for contract bids, and some come in higher than others, and we take the lowest, but then the lowest suddenly becomes comparable to the second or the third or the fourth, and then we run into some problems, I think, ultimately with people that are bidding on projects, and I think it creates problems for us too from a legal standpoint, and I don't know, how that works, but my thing about that is if it gets too excessive, and if it becomes too much, a minor change order to me doesn't mean a whole lot, because I think that's going to be something that just happens as a matter of course when you're doing things. But when you get into major change orders, that can be a problem, because a bidder may be very close, the bids may be very close, and we take the lowest. Now suddenly this one's much higher than the one that was bid before, and would that have come in without these change orders? And that's my concern. I think we want to be very fiscally very conservative with this and try to make the change orders be as little as possible.
Definitely.
So this does kind of, it gives me pause for concern, I guess.
Definitely, we'll try our best. It's just that we had the experience also of one of the projects at the beginning that we had some undulations. We wanted to deliver to the public the best product available. Right. So we went, once we ground the streets, we found the need to, in some areas, do more grinding, address the cul-de-sacs, address more of the intersection treatments, go thicker on the intersection treatments. That's why we went higher on the rubberized asphalt. Once we analyze every single item of work, everything is within the less than 5% except for the rubberized asphalt. That was the highest adjustment, which was a 14%, which was still within the limits of the Green Book not to negotiate prices, which is 25%. So that was our highest. It was a 14 point and change percent. But everything else fell below the 5% change.
And I appreciate that diligence, and I want you guys to do that. But I do think you need to understand that if we do run into these kind of issues and it becomes larger and larger, then that poses some problems for us in making those decisions initially. And so I don't want somebody to come back, a bidder to come back in and say, well, look, what they're doing is they're adding all this change order to this, and then we kind of look bad to the public. And that's the other thing. I appreciate your diligence, and we want the best job for the public. We want the roads to be right. But we also want to try to make it sure we're in there, or that we increase that in some way so that we're not over, so that we know that we're making allowances for any kind of overages that we may run into when we see that.
Mr. Ketchum, may I just direct one question to our city engineer? I think it would be helpful to note, if you're comfortable stating on the record, when the contract change order was first presented to the city, roughly what was the dollar value of that amount, given that we're now at 125,235. I know there was a great deal of negotiation that went into the fund.
Yeah, it was in the vicinity of 160,000.
Okay, so we did negotiate with them to bring the price down somewhat. Okay. I mean, I can appreciate that, and I'm not saying that I'm not in favor of it. What I'm saying is I don't want it to create a problem.
We actually didn't negotiate the contract price because we were not in that area of the Green Book where we could, but we analyzed the areas, the weight tickets. It was a very extensive review. We had spreadsheets, we had a weight ticket per project. So it was a very extensive review.
And how long are these streets going to last, just so for the public's knowledge?
They have a minimum life of 10 years, but I mean, it's up to 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the third of the cost of rehabbing the street completely too. And I want to say this, I'm one of those that really voice strongly against change orders. But I see what happened here, and I was out on these projects a lot. When you let your streets deteriorate to the point to where ours was, these are the kind of problems you run into. And Jasmine, you're right. Once you see an issue that you need to correct, you need to correct it. You can't wait. I mean, you might as well fix it. We don't want a project and not getting on staff, but like what happened at Easter. We don't want that. I mean, so it's better to correct it during the construction phase of the project and make sure it's right. So if we have to come back and make adjustments, well, we're willing to do that. But again, I'll say this, our streets have gotten to the point to where a lot of times you have those unforeseen problems. It's like fixing a wall. Once you get inside the wall, you find problems, you have to fix them.
Yasmin, again, I appreciate you going into some detail for everyone's benefit of understanding that all things said, that it's actually, and I understand what you're saying, that it's not an overrun that's completely out of line. It's within projects of this scope. But the one thing in the process I want to know is just, did you know during, where I know this didn't just happen all at once, are we authorizing these?
Yes, sir. There are field changes.
Changes that
Yes.
are going on?
Yes.
So, and are we monitoring as they're being authorized before you kind of arrive at what was $160,000, and I guess we negotiated down, but are there, that's kind of one part of it, are we monitoring? So I guess you answered that. The only other question I have also with this is, what's in these contracts that allows the original bidder who was awarded the bid, were they off in their estimates? You talked a little bit about the engineering or what it takes. Are they under? There is a concern of that. I know Councilmember Couchman made a good point of that. I'm wondering the same thing. How liable, or I guess, would they be with this contract of this? 5% is still pretty significant when you're talking about $2 million.
Well, I can answer on the technical point of view, and then Mr. Smerton can probably answer on the liability side. But some of the inconsistencies that we had in discussions with the contractor, Parkside has angle intersections instead of, you have the curves versus having the regular perpendicular intersections. So there was a percentage of an area that took more asphalt. And those are the conversations that you have, because we had this bid, these projects were bid in volume, not on area. When you go out there, where you're doing the inspection, you notice, oh, you know what, this street is gonna take a little more. So then you have to wait until the weight tickets come back to see, and you know what, increase your thickness, and then you go in this theoretical amount.
So as you mentioned, we're going to take our learnings, move forward. I would assume, even if it's a different contractor, that are we able to scrutinize these bids? I don't know if we have the technical.
Here's what happens in these street problems. When you get change order, it's not because of a problem in the bid. It's a problem. What it is, a change in circumstances on the scene. It's something that wasn't in the scope of work. So when you get in there, you get in the street, you get it into the dirt, whatever you get into, the contractor comes up with a problem that was not foreseen, it was not accounted for. So a big project like this, what you have is you have a design engineer and you have a resident engineer that's watching the contractor. And that resident engineer looks at it, this is unforeseen, we're going to have to change the scope of work. That means it's a new price. And then that resident engineer has to make sure that what new expenditures come down the line are actually justified and meet the Caltrans criteria, or whatever criteria you're operating under, depending on your funding source. So that's where the change orders come in. It's not, if the contractor makes a mistake on his bid, he doesn't get a change order.
Right.
He just has to eat that.
Yeah.
But when the contractor comes up and there's unforeseen circumstances, we're changing the specs midstream. That's when you get the change order.
But our focus is telling the contractor, this needs to be a little thicker here. So, I mean, quite naturally, he's not going to.
Right, but we're requesting the change, right? We're requesting the change, not necessarily the contractor.
Well, either we're requesting it or agreeing to it.
Agreeing to it, maybe depending upon.
Depending on the conditions on the scene.
Okay.
But it's not, change orders are not to fix contractors' bidding mistakes.
Right.
That's not what change orders are about. And the liability aspect, typically, it's if you disagree with change orders, or I'm right in the middle of it with Calipatria, contractor has $250,000 in change orders that we disapproved. And so now we have to go through this whole arbitration process. And it's lengthy and expensive and just horrible, to tell you the truth.
Got it.
And the city of Calipatria can ill afford it. So.
What about from the viewpoint of other bidders that say came in with a bid and now then we've got a project that's going to cost us this amount of money? Do they have any recourse in that situation?
Because remember, everybody bid on the same set of specifications.
Right.
And the change orders are due to new specifications.
Okay.
So presumably the other contractor
would have had to do the same thing.
Would have had to do the same thing.
Precisely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any questions from the public? Just so we're all on the same page. Okay. Any other questions from council or staff?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion for item 4E?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Jasmine. And we're going to go on to the next item,
Which is somewhat similar.
which is 4F. Review and potential authorization of contract change order number 3 to contract 2013-07 Eastern Avenue Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $60,000 to Rubberized Aggregate Products Incorporated. Authorize the city manager to execute all the documentation in relation to this project.
Yeah, I would like to remind council that this contract, this is a contract change order to Eastern Avenue, but during the project, the total grant amount, it was an SLPP grant in the amount of $1,250,000, which was a 50% local match and 50% state funding. Caltrans authorized us to, as long as we stayed within the same scope of work, to spend the funding amount. So we increased, we added 8th Street between Imperial to 8th Street. When the city did the initial grind on 8th Street, and this happened on what we call West A and East A, because this project ended up being from Western Avenue all the way from 8th Street, and being federal from Western to Imperial, and state LTA from Imperial to 8th Street. When we did the initial grind for 8th Street, it was discovered that the street was not in the condition that we thought. So we needed additional grinding and what we call a pre-leveling course, and then additional rubberized to address this condition. As you can see, 8th Street, I think it's rideability-wise and smoothness, it ended up almost perfect. Yeah. So that this is a change order for 8th Street. The additional, both of them had it. One of them was in consent. This is the other side of 8th Street.
Any questions from council?
No, it's the same thing.
Okay. We have a motion for the item 4F.
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion, there's a second.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, next item is 4G, discussion and potential action regarding the first reading of ordinance number 2014, ordinance of the City Council of City Brawley, California, establishing a parking zone restriction for handicap and no parking zones in the vicinity of the United States Post Office, waive reading and adopt by title only.
There used to be a handicap parking space on the east side of the crosswalk right here on Main Street by the post office, and when the city accepted the relinquishment from Caltrans in 2012, one of the residents called our office and told us that it was dangerous to have the handicap parking space on the east side of the crosswalk because through traffic couldn't see pedestrians accessing the crosswalk. We evaluated, we determined it was right, so we decided to move the handicap space to the west of the crosswalk and to mark the areas immediately adjacent to the crosswalk red. So that's no parking. And this is, we're adding that red curb as well as the handicap space to the municipal code.
Okay.
That was a dangerous situation.
Question. Who was the resident that called? I want to make sure I'm not getting on the wrong side of somebody, because I've already had I had a complaint earlier from somebody, and then they said, I think we've corrected it. So we've corrected it now, and I think they're happy with that. I don't want to go back and make them mad again at me, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
Okay, that's fine. I think I know who it is, but he did bring it up to my attention, and you guys moved it, and he's been happy with it.
Yep.
And so,
It's a gentleman, and he brought it up twice,
I think
actually,
it's
to our attention.
Yes. Okay.
Not you, Donnie, but some other Donnie.
Is there a motion for item 4G?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
As long as we're not changing.
Thank you, Jasmine. We're going to move on to the next item, which is departmental reports. And Jasmine, you at the mic, so you might as well just stay there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm here basically just to share with council that the Public Works Department, in coordination with other departments, with Parks and Recreation and the Fire Department, will be closing a portion of Main Street, starting. Actually, I'm gonna go. This is the main item of work of why we're closing Main Street, our piano-themed crosswalk, which we're very excited about. And this is the Main Street closure area. We're going to be closing Main Street on Thursday, October 23rd, which is this week, at 8:30 a.m. We'd like for all the school traffic to clear, and then we'll come in and we'll close. We're going to do site layout. At the same time, Parks and Recreation will be doing media maintenance, as well as Fire Department doing the banner exchange. We're also going to be doing some curb paintings. So the first item of work is to paint in between the crosswalk longitudinal lines. We're going to paint it black so that we can have and then do the layout for the keys. And then on Friday morning, we're going to start painting and adding the glass beads to the piano keys. So we're planning to reopen the latest 4 p.m. on Friday, and hopefully we'll.
So that closure is going to be Thursday and Friday?
Yes, sir. We will be coordinating with the post office, reminding that we do have quite a few users at the post office that park in the admin parking lot. We'll do our best to park elsewhere as staff and make it available to the public.
I think it's a good idea to do the closure and get it done, and just
showcase it.
Yeah.
I know there's been some controversy about the piano, but when we first talked about that, there was some cost involved in that. Now, we got that straightened out, or it seemed like it was a high cost, I think, to put that in, but maybe it's not so high, or it isn't?
We are actually utilizing an outside company to assist with the stenciling, and after the stenciling work is performed, we can maintain it as staff.
Okay.
But getting it right for the first rollout was our intention. And I believe we've got through the purchase order process, we were able to utilize Radco. Is it Radco?
Mm-hmm.
We'll be doing the stenciling and initial work, and then we'll maintain it from this point forward.
Right, and as I had mentioned to people that had some concern about it, it can be removed, it can be replaced. If in the future it doesn't work or we run into problems with it, we can do other things. It's just a painted surface just to try to add some element of change or element of beauty for that area, and to see if it works that way. And it may actually increase traffic awareness of that crosswalk. And so I think we're looking at that, and I think it's easily changeable, so I don't think people should it's not like it's going to be there for 50 years or anything, unless it works, and then maybe we'll leave it a while.
And it's an element of the Arts District.
Right, and it is an element of the Arts District, and it's something that's been kind of talked about and kind of agreed to, and we've all kind of went along with that, and I think it just adds another element to the Main Street, and that's what we're trying to do, and I want everybody to be aware of that. I mean, everybody has different opinions about what should be done, but I think we have to follow some kind of guidelines anyway in order to get that done.
We do anticipate that the hatching of the crosswalk is consistent with traffic standards, so we're not going wildly outside of the norm to create a dangerous situation for pedestrians. It actually is very much consistent with a standard approach. So we're in great shape from a traffic engineering point of view.
Good, maybe, and no one will get run over.
We hope no one ever gets run over on Main Street. No.
And before you leave us, Jasmine, we'd just like to congratulate you on your award that you got from Las Primeras. Most of us were not able to go. We were out of town, and we're sorry to say. We did order something here, but
Thank you. I received it. Thank you.
did
very
you?
much. Yes.
Oh, they took
It's
it.
happened.
They weren't supposed to take it to you. They were supposed to bring it here, but
thank
good.
you. Beautiful. Thanks.
Oh, good. Well, that's from myself and the rest of the crew. We just want to let you know that we're behind you, and we think highly of you. So
Thank you.
congratulations for being Las Primeras and representing Brawley.
Thank you, and you guys are part of that award also, as well as my fellow department heads and staff. So thank you.
Very good.
Without you, no award.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, and the next item is informational reports, and I think everybody got that in their packet.
Yes.
Item 6B, City of Brawley Eye Protection Policy. Mrs. Benias?
I need one here.
Honorable Mayor, Council Member Shirley Benias, Personnel and Risk Management. It's just an informational item. We don't currently have a policy. City Manager has approved this policy. Those who wear glasses and the goggles, it seems to be scratching the employees' lenses, which we do not want, and also it's very uncomfortable with the goggles when it's 110 degrees outside. I looked at fellow agencies' policies to look at them to pull the best to us and created this policy. All department heads have looked at it. We think it's going to impact Parks and Rec, Public Works, maybe fire, but at this point in time, their protective gear is a lot different than what the other folks, water treatment plant, when they're handling chemicals. Just another piece of eye protective gear so the employee will be even safer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just information.
Right.
Okay. And the other information is, it's in the packet, is the record of the building permits.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, this is simply a standing item where we try to keep you informed of all of the permits being pulled in the city. So if you have any questions, happy to take them, but if not, we've got activity,
Really nice.
building activity
Yes,
in our
we
city
do.
limits, so it's
Appreciate
great
the
to see.
information.
We do have a lot.
Okay, the next item is item 7, council member reports, and I'll start with Mrs. Noriega.
We had Mr. Leon Lesica come to the library, and there was probably about 35 or so. 34 to be exact. But I have to say, he has a book out, and I received the 147th book, and it is also not only signed by Mr. Lesica, but it is signed, here's my signature here, by Duncan Hunter also. I'll read a little blurb here that he wrote, which I thought was amazing, of all the things that he does. He's a hunter and a wildlife conservationist. Lesica's lifelong campaign to benefit wildlife is the strongest evidence in support of the truism that the hunters of our nation are the true
Conservationists.
Thank you. Through 110 degrees, of course, we probably hotter around here, but that's what he put. And in some cases, back-breaking labor, Leon and his band of hunters did what no other organization has accomplished. And he goes on to tell about what all he has done for our wildlife. It's amazing. I don't know how old he is, but I know he's up there.
He's been married 64 years.
There you go, 64 years married. And his wife just sat there by him, and he talked about her and told some stories of how he went out and things that he did, and how she was very helpful in his wildlife conservation. Also, of course, we had the swearing in of Jeremy that you all met tonight, and then we met, Donnie and I met today with Tom DeVos and the McMillan, and we're talking about the Wildcat Road. It's a long time coming, but also it's going to be talked about here in the near future about what's going to happen with that. So we're looking forward to getting some kind of movement there to open up. And I believe that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Donnie, before, I have to apologize, I skipped Ruby.
Yeah.
Ruby, the investment summary report, you want to talk about that a little bit before we?
She didn't.
She was okay.
She said she's okay with it.
You don't want to talk about it, she doesn't want to talk about it.
I'm sorry, Ruby.
It's okay. In front of you is just the investment activity report through June 30, 2014. The last one reviewed or presented to council was the one through March 31st, 2014. And what it is giving you here is just where our money is at, where our cash is throughout the city as we've moved forward as far as moving conservatively our money from LAIF into other investment opportunities. So the top portion basically tells you, as of June 30, 2014, the amount of cash that we have deposited, the investments that we have. LAIF has 27 million. CVB, there's $1 million deposited. And Sun Community, there is $1 million deposited there. Those are both. The CVB account is the money market account, which is accessible at any time. Sun Community is a CD that we're renewing on a 12-month period. And the percent yields, of course, current LAIF rate is 23.23. Community Valley Bank, it's variable and currently at 0.75, which is higher than LAIF. And Sun Community is currently still holding at 1.01%. Below that, you see the list of CDs that we've purchased, which is approximately 32 CDs at this point, which is pretty large. I mean, but we can only buy them in increments of approximately 250,000, and not combining any, crossing any CDs, because that's the amount that will be insured. So we keep them right under 250 just to allow that our interest earnings are insured at the same time. And those have been working out fine. We're on an online platform, which as they're maturing semi-annually, the CDs, and then we do a ladder approach, and we have done a ladder approach with them, and you can tell by the purchase dates. We buy 5 CDs or so at one time at 245 at this point, 245 a piece, and then they mature every 6 months, and they're all on that. Majority of them are. There's one maybe that is monthly, and then I can go in and draw those funds and then reallocate them into the cash accounts and so forth, and we recognize those. So what you have there are their quarterly estimated earnings, and then at the bottom of that report, I have included the what-if scenario if we left it as is, just to give you an idea with moving the money that we have, which is $9.8 million versus the 0.23% of sitting in LAIF, we gross about $31,000 in interest earnings, which furthers the city's position.
And Ruby, would you be able to provide a rough estimate, since we diverted to these various investments, what we've accrued in interest, just as a total sum?
Total sum in interest earnings would probably be, you would have to look about 100,000, and that's split diverse amongst amongst the various funds. Of course, we allocate it in that nature. Whatever, we do it according to the cash, the monthly cash balance, the average cash balance for the month when we're allocating for that period of time. So again, it would be like our wastewater fund is a significant fund. That one carries the majority of the interest, and it's allocated proportionately.
Yeah. Good.
I think it's important that we give Ruby credit for that, and also Jim Hamilton, our treasurer, because they came to me at that time and they talked about what they were going to do, and they followed through with it, and they got that all done. And we've seen a lot more money, I think, come in than what we would have got from our investments at that point in time. So I appreciate all the work that you guys did on that. So
Thank you. It's
I know
appreciated.
Jim's laid up, so
Yeah.
he needs good tidings and stuff.
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
Tell him
there you
hi
go.
for us when you talk to him.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wharton, I'm sorry, but.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No problem. I'll be swift here. I attended our library board meeting, and I want to take that opportunity to throw out a congratulations to the library board, to Marjo, and the entire staff at the LAMS program. Received a prestigious, help me with this, bell. Golden Bell. There we go. I see. That's what I knew I needed help. Yeah. I do mean it is prestigious, and I commented at the board meeting that anything that involves an award with a bell in the city of Brawley is considered very valuable. So congratulations, Marjo. I think the chief and his staff for Fire Prevention Week had a great open house. I was able to attend a couple hours on the front end. I know it continued on. But again, another great event. What a great facility to showcase. So hopefully all the hot dogs were eaten and
They ran out.
water was drank. There you go.
They ran out. It's a good thing.
So certainly enjoyed that. Also attended the PMH Foundation 13th Annual Gala. I've been a part of that for a number of years, even prior to council. But again, it was great to see my fellow council members there. I know Councilmember Noriega is taking care of other events and was out of town at the moment. But it was a great evening because the weather was about perfect, about as good as it could be in the last couple of years. Outside of that, I do want to acknowledge also Marvin Lewis, for those who didn't know, was the recipient of the Margaret Award that night. Again, another one of the prestigious awards that are given out here in our city, specifically for their work with the foundation. So I'm reporting out the foundation at the hospital is doing fantastic work. So again, congratulations to Mr. Lewis. Marketing committee report. I'll have more of a robust report out at our next meeting. It's, again, a collaborative effort between myself and Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Nava. He's not here tonight, but he had the latest contact with Spectrum as far as the progress on the website. My report out, again, is I did look at the concept, kind of a PDF form of what the layout will look like, and it is quite different, and I mean different in a good way. It truly looks updated, but there were some elements to it that we wanted to see, so we gave some feedback. We wanted to see some more symbols of Brawley within it. It was so modern looking and very, I think, user-friendly for anyone that would visit it. So whether you're a business, whether you're a citizen, whether you're a staff member, it does not matter who you are. If you go to that front page, the way it's designed right now, it really helps you kind of navigate and get a flavor of Brawley. But again, there were some more elements we wanted in that, so we'll have more to come. I don't know if our city manager has anything to add on marketing on that project?
Not at this time.
Outside of that, everything else is upcoming. Aviation Day, I will be there. Look forward to seeing anybody that's interested in airplanes, helicopters, or airport, or free hot dogs. Please come out. I will certainly be there. Yeah. And if there's something I'm leaving out, but I do know we have some great participation that we're anticipating, specifically with our schools, correct?
Right, we've got the Young Eagles program that has stepped forward to offer flights, and I've got active coordination underway with the STEM science, technology, engineering, and math students at Brawley Elementary School District. We have Mr. Flores's civics and U.S. history students participating, and we've got 5 students each from Sacred Heart and Brawley Christian Academy that are pre-selecting some individuals. We've got an invitation out to our explorers that are part of the police department, and we have Mr. Munguia's Rocket Club, a number of his students out at Desert Oasis that have been extended the opportunity. We've got some wonderful, wonderful friends of the airport that have stepped forward to assist us with the event, and we hope the public will come out from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday.
Thank you, City Manager. And my final kind of announcement here, the Brawley Business Advisory Committee will be meeting. Our inaugural first initial meeting coming up next week. I endeavored to have this done in October, so here we are, not a moment too late. October 29th, I believe my date's right, and just confirming the time with the city manager, 5:30 p.m., or are we looking at 6? Do you remember? I think it was 5:30 is what I targeted, so does that sound right?
It's 5:30, Alma? The business advisory team?
Yeah, I don't want to put wrong information, but I know it's
I
been
have it.
communicated
Just
with our
1 second,
new
and I'll
committee members, so I apologize. But
Ruby's shaking her head, it's 5:30.
5:30, fantastic. Okay, I want to confirm that, but looking forward to that, and certainly look forward to reporting out after we have our first meeting, so that's all I have on that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Cox?
Okay. I also attended the Fire Prevention Week event at the fire department. I got there a little bit later, and the helicopter was gone, the hot dogs were gone, everything was gone, but I had a good time anyway. It was fine. It was a fun visit, and good job over there at the second fire station. Walked to school with the kids on October the 8th. They had to walk to school, and all the schools actually participated this year. I think last year was only Phil Swing. I did notice that there was a lot of active participation, and the police department was there. I think the fire department was there. There was a lot of city employees were there, Alan Chan and some other people there for the walk. And I did notice that the fourth graders are not as gullible and naive as they used to be. They didn't believe all my stories this time, and I couldn't convince them about the animal wrestling. But other than that, everything was okay. And they were a really good group of kids, and they really did participate, and everybody loved the event. I did do a Mary Miller's class reunion of 1959 on October the 11th. I did have a presentation. They asked me to give a presentation on changes around Brawley, and with the help of the city manager who developed the PowerPoint, I did that presentation for them kind of on our own time, I think, and they wanted it, and they were very impressed with the changes in Brawley. Many of them had not been here for quite a few years, and so they were impressed with the pictures that we showed them and some of the changes that have occurred. And we also got people that came in that live in other cities that said that they wish that their city was more like Brawley. And so I thought that was really kind of neat, and they did appreciate all of that. The PMHD Foundation Gala on the 16th, we attended that. It was well attended, I thought, and a lot of funding for that foundation is raised through that event, and a lot of locals participate in that event, both the students with their artwork and all the people that are involved in that event. It was really a nice event. I did also attend the grand opening ribbon cutting of the Motel 6, and as you know, on the west side of town, with that being open, that's certainly a positive for Brawley, and considering the condition that it was in when we first toured that site and seeing it now, there's quite a bit of difference, and so that's a great addition to Brawley, and we do appreciate that developer coming in and working with that and getting that up and running, because that's a great addition on that side of town. The Cattle Called Queen coronation I attended on the 17th. Cattle Called Queens are out there. They're going to be attending our Rotary meetings or one of our Rotary meetings, and they're around town meeting with different people, and two great young ladies, and should be really great cattle call, and they'll do a good job, I know. And so that was neat at the Stockman's Club, and there's a lot of events coming up that we'll all be attending, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. With that, I am done.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. I want to start, I attended the MANA recognition, and I do want to say congratulations to Jasmine, and she did a fine job speaking, and she wasn't nervous, her voice wasn't breaking, and she did a really good job, and Jasmine, we're proud of you, and we're proud of your accomplishments, and you represented the city of Brawley real well, and the MANAs also, so thank you, and the dinner was good too. I did attend the Motel 6 ribbon cutting, and I spoke to the gentleman by the name of Mike that started that construction when we first walked that site, and he did. He made us a promise he was going to finish it, and I didn't have doubt, but I told him, I said, you know, because that place, if you guys seen it before they started, was a disaster, and I mean they done a fine job. The rooms are really nice, and they're still not done. I think they're going to put a swimming pool in, and they're going to do the conference room and stuff like that. But the motel looks really nice. The rooms look really good. I attended the dinner for Assemblyman Manuel Perez. They did a recognition for him for congratulations on his 6 years of serving in the assembly of the 51st District, and I attended that, and it was pretty well attended. It was at Club Luhu, if I'm saying that right, in Plexico, in Heber. But it was pretty nice. I did attend the PMH Gala, and that's always a fine event that goes on, and Donnie and them do a good job getting people to purchase those portraits, and the kids do a good job in preparing those portraits too. That's really a nice event.
I held Don back.
Yeah, I told Sammy, let's get.
It got too expensive.
Him and I agreed that we would go $800 on a really beautiful stained glass portrait.
Yes.
And I think that thing stopped at $2,500.
Yeah, it just went like
this,
boom,
and
and
was
Sam holding him back. Yeah, holding back. Because I was willing to go maybe 1,000, but when it went up to 2,000,
Don't shoe a fly or something.
Yeah. Donnie was watching us, trying to.
Yep. And again, attending the classes with Mr. Flores and the kids at the high school, they do a really good job with that, and I enjoyed that. They had some really interesting questions that they asked about city government, so I look forward to the sessions next week. I think we're going to do a couple more next week, so I look forward to that. I did the school walk. I walked with the Field Swing group, not really realizing how many kids attend our elementary schools, and I mean, it was a line of kids 3 or 4 blocks long. I mean, there was a lot of kids. So, and that was fun. I mean, the kids had a good time, and we had a good walk, and I enjoyed that. I attended the Brawley Pop Warner 5K run walk that was sponsored by Brawley Pop Warner with a donation to Between Women for cancer awareness, and it was our first event. And I really want to thank Pat and the Parks and Recreation Department for kind of helping us. That was our first time doing that, and I was calling Pat because I'm like, Pat, what do we do with this? Who do we call? The gates. But they did. She made a lot of phone calls for us, and our staff helping us with the insurance and everything from our HR folks, and we had a really, really great turnout. We had 1,600 people that signed up for that event, so it was really nice.
Don's picture went viral. His picture at that event.
Yeah, they teased me about the pink socks. But I had a good time, and it was really for a good cause. And Linda, Katie, and the group with Between Women were there to help us sponsor that, and it was really well.
It was well attended.
And it was a nice weekend. And Pat, again, thank you so much for all your help with helping it, because without you guys' help, we couldn't have made that happen. So. We were able to donate $3,000 to Between Women from Brawley Pop Warner, so that was really a really good event. And I want to thank Daniel. I always call him Elvis. I hope he don't. Elvis. I hope he don't get upset with me. But Daniel and the post, and he had the guys out there, and they helped with water and helped us with organizing that and kind of directing things. So thanks so much from the Brawley PD and the help with that and everything. So, and with that, getting ready for the cattle call events, and hope everybody comes out and have fun and with their families and the kids and everybody. And I want to say thank you to staff, and I ask that God continue to bless you guys and your family. We live in a wonderful city. We live in a wonderful city. Thank you. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick couple items. Want to make sure relative to the airport open house that you're aware of the participation of the Imperial County Aero Squadron. They'll be bringing 4 airplanes to be part of the static display. We've also got Diana Stewart leading up the Imperial Solo 99s, which is a group of female pilots. And they will be bringing 3 to 4 airplanes for the static display. We've got Reach providing a helicopter there. Mr. Joel Shank, who is a longtime member of the Airport Advisory Commission, has agreed to assist us with some technical areas that help us with site planning for the day. And we've got our consultant, AE Consulting, who have greatly assisted and aided in the engineering of our projects. Peter Bonello will be there on premises. IVEDC will also be helping to staff the event. And something I learned today and wanted to be sure that I highlighted is that Imperial Flying Services is donating all the fuel for the flights, which they very quietly committed to the aviation group, the fuel coverage of the fuel cost, and I only found out kind of by happenstance. So want to make sure that you're aware that these offers are in place, and the folks that are in contact regarding the flights are so delighted for the chance to touch lives with kids. So we're hoping that's going to be a successful event. We do have a number of downtown activities in addition to what's happening right on the plaza this coming week, and that will include the installation of the new benches, trash receptacles, and bike racks. Our planters are lagging a little bit behind in terms of arrival. But we're really excited for the opportunity to share with merchants that various installations are occurring within that first block between North and South Plaza and 6th Street. And that was made possible through a generous contribution from the Downtown Merchants Fund. So we're really excited to see that roll out and hope in a future year we can take on some more blocks in the downtown. One last just quick item of note, we're really excited for the significant delivery of an IT/finance project that's been underway for quite some time, and that has to do with creating our backup solution. And as a result of that, we were ready to move and migrate data from the finance department that's been somewhat isolated in the confines of that building across the street. And due to the involvement of not only our finance director, our police chief, and James Arthur, an IT administrator, we were able to take the bull by the horns and actually produce the desired outcome. We're about 98% complete. We were able to transition with very, very few hiccups, and able to keep the operations going as we continued to receive payments and address issues at the window at utility billing. So really excited about that opportunity and bringing that project to the finish line.
Can you also mention how many feet of light and what the lights are for and where they're going up, please?
Yes, absolutely. So a solicitation has been launched with the help and leadership of Councilmember Noriega to obtain donations from the public on to light up the plaza. And we have, through donations and a small amount of seed funding from the city of Brawley, we have acquired 1,000 feet of white lights. We need many, 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 many more.
At least 10,000 more.
But we will be showcasing some of those lights as part of Mariachi Night when the stage will be placed in the middle of Main at Plaza. So we'll be framing the downtown to the best of our abilities with the feet of light we have available, and we're looking forward to much more to come, especially as we finish up the work at the kiosk with Kiwanis Club. So.
And how much is the donation for at least one strand at a time?
So we did a bit of a modification on our approach to deter vandalism, and as a result of the swap out, our strings of light are now $17.99 per 42 feet of light. So we're happy to take direct donations, or NOCA has graciously offered to offer that tax deductible donation, and we've got a great relationship going with them and with the chamber to beautify our downtown, and we're really excited to light it up, especially for the holidays.
Could you also mention the Armed Forces banners that we're going to put up, the veterans, and honoring
Yes.
the veterans and our current serving soldiers? And
So
maybe
Thursday and Friday of this week, we'll be installing the banner series, the Armed Forces Banners program. We have 32 of the 34 slots filled. Albert Cosio with our fire department is the lead man in charge of installation of the banners. He is also assisting Parks and Rec with replacement of some of the fixtures that are up there because some of them are in pretty bad shape. We are retiring the current series out there that's kind of on it's the last days of life, and it's time to bid them goodbye for the run that they had. But we're really excited to have those banners in place, consistent with the theme of red, white, and blue for cattle call, and in time for Veterans Day, when we'll be hosting an event here at the Veterans Wall. There aren't any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
City Attorney?
Okay, excuse me, we have filed suit against Tangerine Gardens LLC seeking an injunction commanding them to clean up their property over by the La Valencia area, which is a real mess. It consists of two parcels. One is just overgrown with salt cedars and bushes, and the other it's clean. The parcel is clean, but there's a structure on it that's just a disaster. It's all graffitied up. So we combined them into one. That's out for service. It's probably been served, but my secretary is also my runner, and she was at court, so I couldn't find out. So that's moving right along. The arson reward trial has been completed, and the judge, in his infinite wisdom, decided to split the reward 3 ways. So everybody got a piece of it, and apparently everybody's happy. At least that's what the attorneys involved reported to me. And then finally, during cattle call, the Friday night of cattle call weekend, November 7th, there's going to be a huge karate demonstration in Winter Haven, and it draws people from all over the world. And it got started by our little karate clubs in El Centro and Brawley. So if you're not too busy with cattle call and you want to see that, it's really something.
Thank you.
Sir. Ruby, treasurer?
No treasurer.
I know she just sat down. I didn't want to leave her off. Thank you, Ruby. City clerk? Nothing to report? Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Last chance for the public comment.
No.
Thank you guys very much, and have a safe rest of the evening.
Marjo.